The following stories have been made anonymous. Names and other identifiable information have been changed to protect people's identities. Listener discretion is advised. So I don't usually tell this story. Honestly, I don't even know if I believe all of it myself. But every time I go back home, I can't drive past Tucker's Creek without getting that feeling, like something's still down there, watching. I grew up in western North Carolina, kind of near Burnsville. We lived in this old house way out by the woods, one of those places where you can't get cell service no matter where you go, and the nights are pitch black. All you hear are frogs, the creek, and the wind. About half a mile down from our place was this wooden bridge that crossed Tucker's Creek. It wasn't much, just old planks and railings half rotted from the rain. Everyone in town called it the Crying Bridge. That's just what it was known as. In middle school, kids dared each other to walk across it at night. There was the story, an old one, about a woman who drowned there sometime back in the 1800s. Supposedly, she was out looking for her husband who never came back from the mines, and after a flood came, she disappeared. They found her shawl tangled under the bridge a few days later. My mom used to say you could still hear her crying down there on foggy nights, but you know, parents say stuff like that to keep you from wandering off near the creek. Anyway, the year this happened, I was about 12. It was Halloween night, and all the neighborhood kids, well, the 5 of us who lived close enough, were out trick-or-treating. Afterward, my friend Ellie dared me to walk down to the bridge by myself. She said, "If you go all the way across and back, I'll give you all my Reese's." I love Reese's, so of course I said yes. It was almost midnight. The air was cold and smelled like wood smoke. I had my flashlight, this little plastic one that barely worked, and honestly, I wasn't really scared. At least, not until I actually got close to the bridge. It's weird how quiet the woods get sometimes. Like, even the bugs stop. You could hear the water underneath the bridge, but it wasn't rushing, just kind of moving. When I stepped onto the bridge, it creaked so loud I froze. Then I laughed a little, trying to shake it off. The boards felt soft, like they might break if I jumped. Halfway across, I stopped and shined my light down through the gaps between the planks. That's when I heard it. At first, it sounded like a low hum, like wind through the trees, or maybe a dog whining far off. But then it changed. It started to sound like crying. Very faint, but close, just beneath my feet. I stood there for a second, trying to convince myself it was just water echoing under the bridge. But then, I swear, I heard a voice. It was a woman's voice. Soft, broken, and it said my name. Just once. I remember every hair on my arm standing up. I spun around with my flashlight. Nothing. The woods were empty. But then I saw it. Something down near the water. Just this dim orange glow, like a lantern, swinging back and forth, real slow. At first, I thought maybe it was one of the neighbors, but there's no path down there. The banks are too steep. I didn't know what else to do, so I called out, "Hello?" No answer. The light moved again, closer to the bridge. That's when I heard this wet sound, like someone dragging their feet through mud. And I saw her. Just a glimpse. But she was there, standing halfway in the creek, hair hanging down like it was dripping wet. I could see her arm reaching towards the bridge. And then she said my name again. That's when I ran. I dropped my flashlight somewhere along the way. I didn't even realize until I was back at my porch trying to catch my breath. The next morning, I told my mom what happened. I expected her to tell me I was imagining things, but she didn't. She just looked at me for a long time and said, "You shouldn't go near that bridge anymore." I asked her if she thought it was the woman. She didn't answer. But that night, I saw her light a candle by the kitchen window, something she hadn't done in years. I didn't ask any questions. I was too freaked out to try to make sense of what I had just seen and heard. I figured it was late at night, my imagination was active, and I was already kind of geared up to see something creepy. So I just tried to sleep it off. A few months later, a big storm came through and washed part of that old, mushy bridge out. The county built a new one, concrete this time. But when the water got low again that spring, people found an old lantern stuck in the roots downstream. Rusty, cracked glass, but the inside was still black, like it had been burned. They hauled it off, and the next night, my neighbor said he heard crying again. Said it sounded like it was coming right out of the creek bed. I moved away years ago, but every fall, when the air starts to smell like smoke and rain, I think about that night. And sometimes when I visit home and drive past Tucker's Creek, I roll my windows up without even thinking about it, because I still don't know what I saw. Maybe it was a trick of the moonlight. Maybe it was just a story my brain filled in because I wanted to be scared. But sometimes, when I dream about it, I can still hear her voice, real faint, saying my name. I grew up outside of Crossville, Tennessee. Our house sat way back from the main road, down a dirt lane that was mostly ruts and rocks. If you walked a mile down from our mailbox, you hit a dip in the land folks called Sink Hollow. There used to be a house down there, half collapsed, right on the edge of a dry creek bed. Most people didn't talk about it much, but everybody knew it was there. I only went down once. I wish I hadn't. It was the October I turned 13. My dad had gone to work on the pipeline. My mom worked nights at the nursing home, so most evenings it was just me and my older cousin, Caleb. He was staying with us for the fall, trying to get straight, as my aunt called it. Caleb wasn't bad, just restless. He'd sit out on the porch smoking cheap cigarettes and talking about places he'd rather be. One night, he said he wanted to show me something weird he'd found. Said it was down in the hollow. I told him people said that place wasn't safe. The ground caved in sometimes. He laughed and said, "Then we'll watch where we step." We went after dark with flashlights. It was colder than I expected as we were walking through the woods, so I didn't have a heavy enough jacket. But we got close to the house, and when we did, I could smell it. Damp wood and rot. The house looked like it had been sinking into the dirt for years. One side leaned, the porch was gone, and the windows were broken. Caleb climbed the steps like it was nothing. I stayed by the tree line, shining my light around. That's when I noticed something odd. On a branch by the house, there was a rope hanging, and tied to the end of it was an old metal bucket. It wasn't swinging or moving, just hanging there. There was no well either, so I don't know why, it was just there. Caleb called from inside, having already gone in. Said there were old jars all over the floor. When I stepped in, I saw what he meant. Glass jars filled with murky water, each with something inside. I thought they were bugs or leaves at first, but one was a frog. Another had a dead bird, half decayed. Every jar was sealed with wax. The air smelled sour, like vinegar and iron. I told him we should go. He just shrugged and said, "Some old weirdo probably lived here." We were heading out when the sound hit. Something slamming, hard, from under the floor. Not like the wind, not an animal. 3 dull hits, spaced apart evenly. Caleb froze. We looked at each other, and I swear I saw him go pale. He whispered, "Someone's down there." We ran, didn't even look back until we were halfway home. We told my mom, and she said it was probably a possum or raccoon, told us to stay out of there, which we did. I know what I heard. Me and Caleb spoke to each other the rest of the night, trying to figure out what that sound could have been, and we know it was human. A week later, I woke up to voices outside. Men from the county were down there with trucks and lights. They were filling in part of the hollow with gravel. I overheard one of them say something about an old well that had caved in. That was it. Nobody explained anything else. Years later, when I was in high school, a new family moved to the area. They built a small house not far from where the old one stood. I ran into the woman at the store once, and she said they'd been having plumbing issues, something about the water pressure being off. A week after that, a crew came out to dig a new line, and they found something. I don't know what exactly, but the sheriff was there for hours. The area got taped off, and after that, the woman and her family moved away before Christmas. Didn't even bother to sell. When I drive through there now, you can still see where the dirt dips, just a little sag in the earth where the hollow used to be. I don't know what was really down under that house, and I don't think I want to. But sometimes when it rains really hard, the ground opens up a little, and you can still smell that same sour air, like something underneath never stopped rotting.